Welcome into a live edition of Deep Look. I'm Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Keith Rayner. It is our Nationals preview show. Club Nationals starts in 3 days. Well, less than 3 days because it's 2:30 p.m. here on the East Coast. So excited to get to San Diego. Keith, I just looked up the weather. It's going to be fantastic. I mean, not that you expect anything less from San Diego, but sometimes it can be a little cold or a little windy. It's going to be like 70s and sunny, no rain in the forecast every day. This is just the best place to have Nationals.
I hope that it lives up to it. I mean, the food has been good. The weather's been good. We do get that wind that comes through, but hey, some people might even like that. It's funny you mentioned the California weather thing. I've been jamming on a song called "No Seasons," and the hook is about how California has no seasons. So, it's a beautiful thing being on San Diego and getting to enjoy the sunshine when it's starting to get cold where we are on the East Coast.
Well, it's time to rock and roll. We've got a lot of games in the midst as well. So if you haven't already, you might see on the site, #the game is alive and happening. We've also got the Beat Charlie Challenge. I'm putting my picks in as we speak. And obviously my full slate of picks will be determined by the end of today's show. So Keith, I'm doing full. I'm looking at pool play and everything this year, like all the way down, not just picking teams. I'm like picking records. So I'm going deep.
Sometimes I've wondered if we should have a competition where it's like March Madness, like you really fill out the whole thing.
We could try that in a future year. So where should we start, Keith? We got 3 divisions to get through. We're going to talk about every pool. We're going to talk about the matchups. We're going to make our semis picks, of course, and we're going to pick our winners and hopefully get you ready to go for what should be a very exciting club championships. What a season.
Where's chat want us to start? His first division in chat. That's where we're starting.
All right, we're going to go ahead
use the live chat we got.
Okay, there it is.
Mixed.
It comes through first. That's where we're starting. Let's do it. We, of course, have the random draw seeding. If you want to check that out, we had an episode on that a couple weeks ago where we did it live with the bingo balls and everything. So Shame is your number 1 overall seed, Dragon Thrust the 2, Amp the 3, BFG the 4. Wide open, Keith. In the Super League, what are the odds for championships in the mixed division?
So the Super League championships, and I always remind people, betting is a market. It's not just based on what I think is going to happen. It is what I think people will bet on. But my title championship odds in mixed, I have Shame with plus 750, which is tied for the second lowest odds. After, I guess third technically, because there are 2 teams with the highest odds are Dragon Thrust and Amp at plus 500. So pretty open. I mean, there's by far the highest of any top low odds in any division. Definitely the mixed division feels like the most apt for chaos. You get better odds on mixed nationals than you do on the NBA preseason trying to bet on the Milwaukee Bucks. Well, we're trying to have some fun out
plus here. 425 right now. I mean, but I don't think it's crazy. I don't think that that's out of line. I just think that it's just really going to be hard to predict. I know that mixtape will be the top picked team in #the game. I mean, that is just a value pick with them on the 2 line. Like you have to love it. Even in Pool C, the craziness that is Pool C, Amp, mixtape, noise, and hybrid. We'll get to that. But let's start in Pool A, Keith. Shame, Sprocket, Shine, and Rally. Shame certainly looks like the heavy favorite here, but they feel like a tenuous 1 seed a little bit, don't they?
They were a terrible 1 seed the last time that they were the 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken, and they also have to deal with the 1 seed curse. I mean, I'm gonna keep going back to this. Well, just the 1 seed doesn't win this pool. They're playing 500 ball over the past 3 seasons or something like that. The 1 seed has not fared well in Pool A, so it almost feels like the upset is picking Shame to win the pool.
I don't know about that. I think Shame. I have Shame winning this pool, but I do think that it's going to be a battle. I think Shame needs to set a statement early and deter. Who do they play first? They play Shine. I want to see them come out and win 15-9 and deter the other teams from really expending energy against them. And I think they're good enough to do that. I mean, there's no reason to believe that they're not a great team. They have showed it all season long. Like, what more do you want to see from them? Like, look at the resume here. They drop the game to AMP at US Open. They come back and they crush everybody at Elite Select, which, by the way, the teams in their pool are Elite Select level teams. They beat Sprocket 15-10 the 2 times they faced them there. And then they crushed everybody at South Central Regionals. So I have seen enough. I think that this team is legit. I think they're going far. Whether they win the title or not, well, I'll tell you in a bit. But that's who I've got going through, Keith. And then I think it's a really going to be fun for those next 2 spots in pre-quarters, because I do think Sprocket, Shane, and Rally feel like very even teams in my mind. And who's going to show up for nationals? I think any of those teams is capable of moving on.
Well, and the results from the season kind of bear that out. I mean, they have had mixed results against one another. You know, Shine and Sprocket have split results along the way. Or Shine Shine and Sprocket have split results along the way. You got Rally as the bottom seed in the pool. Guess what? They have a win over Shine too. So you've got a bit of a potential for madness, 3-way ties, all those kinds of things in the back ends of this pool. Adam C says Sprocket's going to win the pool. I don't know if I can agree with that. Honestly, doing my background here, they got a pretty unimpressive resume when it all comes down to it. They have the win over AMP 12-9 at PEC, and it's not all that pretty after that. But I think that's the case for a lot of the teams that aren't on the top seed line. So I think that there's a real chance that we're going to see some wild results. The only thing is I'm not really buying on Rally. Outside of that, I feel like this pool is really up for grabs.
I mean, Cam B points it out. Sprocket has lost to both Shine and Rally this season.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for some ammunition, there you go.
Someone said Shane played really consistently. The results, their resume is awesome, and I don't even think they've like really put their foot all the way on the gas. So I think they might be really good this year.
I'm gonna pick Shame, Shine, Sprocket, Rally. That's my final order.
That is my order too.
Okay. So that's Pool A. And move to Pool B. Dragon Thrust, Exist, Red Flag, and Mischief. Also kind of scary, right? Dragon Thrust comes out in the season, plays horrible to start. Everyone's wondering what's going on with this team. And then they bounce back in a huge way at Pro Champs. They come through. They end up earning the 2 seed overall. It's kind of unbelievable they got the 2 seed after the way they played at US Open. But they did. Exist, underperforming this season, but certainly has a lot of firepower. Red Flag, tested in the very difficult Northwest region where, they lose to Mixtape, but otherwise take care of business up there. They've actually had a pretty good season. And then at the bottom of the pool, you've got a team that wins the Southwest region. And, you never want to face the team that's the top team out of the Southwest in the mixed division. So I think C has stolen the headlines in some ways, but I think Pool B is also extremely volatile, and you have a lot of teams who could really outperform at nationals based on what we've seen this season.
I'm curious to see how this pool breaks out. I mean, I'm big on Dragon Thrust. I'll let you know now. I'm high on them, but Exist has a big win over Dragon Thrust, so it's hard to find a pool where it's like, oh, it's obvious how this is going to lay out. But that's what we love about mixed. That's probably why the crowd wanted to start here anyway. But I've seen enough from Dragon Thrust to feel like they're both the most talented team and the most prepared. And I just don't know if I feel that comfortable with the other teams. Red Flag, they've played a pretty good West Coast slate, and it might not necessarily be their fault that they haven't seen many teams that are going to be at nationals really. But the fact is that they haven't, so they're a bit unproven. Mischief had one bad tournament, and it wasn't getting a ton of opportunities outside of Pro Elite. They have not been like an awesome team this year, but I think that the Southwest, I'm pretty high on the Southwest. So emerging from the Southwest as a champion comfortably is very impressive to me for that Mischief team.
Ann Worth not on Exist tournament roster. Little B points that out in the chat. There are scouring rosters should be a part of how you prepare for opponents and for picks, because there are notable players across all divisions that are just all of a sudden not showing up on series rosters. So Adam C says she tore her ACL, which that's horrible news if that's true. Didn't she already tear her ACL?
I really hope that is incorrect. But
oh my gosh, that's just horrible if that's true. I had not heard that. Anyway, she's not on the roster, which that's all you need to know. She's not playing. You know, we'll have to find out why. You know, Emily Barrett, we already knew was going to be out for Exist. You know, but Keith, Exist has depth on the female matching side, and they have a win over Dragon 14-10 at Pro Champs when Dragon was back in form. I think they are a very solid pick to win this pool. I can understand if you just want to roll Dragon, but I'm certainly considering taking Exist. And then I think it's kind of a battle between those bottom two teams, but I truly could see this pool going any direction.
There Exist is still a scary team to bet against. I mean, we were so high on them coming into the year.
Literally number one in the power rankings coming into the season.
They have so much talent. You know, just saw De Jesus getting a lot of love in our top 25 player rankings. She was not the only player on this team to appear in those rankings. You know, and even beyond that, you know, we've seen hype for Jolie Krebs. I think Sam Harris and Layla Deniston have had good years. Like there's a chance Exist just comes around at the right time this year. But I've just seen them flub too many games right now for me to feel comfortable allying with them going into nationals. So I got to put the fade on. I guess is it on me to give you my standings for the pool then?
Let's get your full picks. Yep.
All right. I am going with. I'm going to go with Dragon Thrust to win the pool. And then I've got Mischief finishing second and Exist finishing third. Going with Mischief, backing up the Southwest hype.
Okay. Well, let's see. Oh man. I think I'm going to stick with Dragon as the winner, even though I'm really tempted to take Exist, but maybe just too many players down. But I like their chances against Dragon. I think they could be a great game. I'm definitely taking Exist in the 2 spot. I think that fading them a little too much too early is not the right call. I don't think this team's winning nationals, but I think they get through this pool. Yeah, give me Mischief over Red Flag for the 3 spot. I'm gonna have Vancouver bouncing out pool play.
We are both on that, which all but assures it won't happen.
We move to Pool C. This is the one, folks. This is the one. Everybody's got this circled. As soon as we got the random draw, I was like, is this really the pool? Amp, Mixtape, Noise, and Hybrid. We're talking about the top 3 teams of this pool have been 3 of the top teams at nationals over the last 3 or 4 years. You know, obviously title pedigree with Amp and Mixtape, Noise, back-to-back semis performances, Robin Fennig, totally unstoppable. You know, they sneak into nationals. Let's admit that they barely got into nationals, but they did. And now that they're here, it's a different story. You know, regionals is its own beast. And then Hybrid rounds out the pool. And I think Hybrid is scarier in legacy than in the actual results of the 2023 season, but they still are a team that you have to take seriously. They have the potential to be a lot better than really any. They could be better than any of the other Pod 4 teams for sure.
They're still a scary 4 seed, but they have not looked like the same team this year. And not having Maddie Simcoe, I'm sure has something to do with that, but they just don't. There's too many pieces that they lost that were key pieces from the finalist team. Yeah, there are still some players around, but you know, losing like Perticone, like these are people that made a big difference for them, and I think that's probably zapped their talent a bit. But it's funny, you talk about their success over the past few seasons. These teams, the 4 teams in this pool have taken 6 of the 8 slots in the finals over the past 4 seasons. It's wild.
That is wild. Man, picking here.
What are your odds for this pool to go to seed? What are your what if I make that a prop in the betting league? What should the odds on that be?
To go to seed. I still think it's more like that's like the most likely outcome. Like if you ran the 10,000 simulations, I think that the plurality of results falls amp mixtape noise hybrid, but I still don't think that plurality is a majority. So I would say minus 175, maybe.
Interesting. I might have to do this. I might have to
Wait a minute. Sorry. I said it wrong. Plus 175.
You want plus 175?
Plus 175. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people are going to just think mixtape's definitely going to upset amp, and like that's all it would take, right? If mixtape is the team that we think they can be at their best, they could beat amp, and then that's that. So the question is who's not going to make it out of here. But I'll just give you my picks, okay? I'm going mixtape amp noise hybrid. I think it's going to be less crazy than people think, but I do think a lot of the games will be very competitive.
Charlie, I'm going with the exact same standings in this pool. I'm taking mixtape. I was on mixtape heavy before the year. I was all about mixtape running it back. I think people were counting him out too early after Kelly Johnson's retirement. It's like this. They're still going to be really good. They spent the whole season making me look dumb. It's going to come to pass at the last moment. They're going to hit that buzzer beater for me. But I've got them winning this pool.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Noise is a good team, but they have a win over BFG and otherwise not a lot.
It's basically the worst draw that they could get. I think Amp Mixtape is like a terrible top two teams for them, but they're going to be a live team in the pool in the bracket.
I mean, maybe they like that. Having a good other seeds in the pool means that the other games are going to be tester games for everybody. Like you're not going to get games off if you're a dominant one seed. Maybe in the second half teams are subbing out, but Noise is going to get hybrid last. So if hybrid is in it late with one of those other teams, maybe that favors Noise in some way. But yeah, I think you'd much rather just play an easier pool, have it be an easier time.
When it kicks off, Amp Noise. I mean, game one. That's pretty hype.
What's your line on Amp Mixtape? Because that's part of the bonus point.
I think the line is Amp minus one.
Wow, that's so tight.
What do you think it should be?
I mean, Amp's been
you're not giving either team good. More than 2 points, are you?
No, I think. I mean, I guess you could make an argument for Amp minus 2.5. I don't think that's crazy. I guess when you take the mixtape win over Amp, that kind of changes the equation a little bit. But look, Amp beat Shame 15-12. They beat BFG. They have a strong resume. I don't know. Maybe I'm too high on Amp.
All right, I'm going to ask the chat. If the line was Amp minus 2.5, who do you take? Chat?
You should ask 1.5. See where people are thinking.
Well, you just said 2.5.
Everyone's going to smash mixtape, huh? At 2.5.
Well, that's what it sounds like. That's what I'm saying. Several people are typing. We got them both for mixtape. 100% mixtape from Teresa. Mixtape for sure, says Jim.
So here are your options in the game bonus question are Amp wins covers 2.5. They win exactly by 1 or 2, or mixtape wins. Those are your it's a 3-way.
Oh, okay.
There's a name for that exact type of bet, but that's your pick.
Yeah. Is this actual Cam Bailey up in here? Because there's a Cam B and I don't know who it is. But Cam B just said mixtape on edibles at plus 2.5. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. Like Nationals Khalif, he was a beast last year at Nationals. Now, what they don't have, though, Keith, is Kelly Johnson. And she was a massive part of why they won the title last year. I'm very curious to see how their offense handles not having her out there. All right, let's get to Pool D. BFG, Crocs, Slow, and Lawless. By the way, Keith, I think the chat suggests that 1.5 is the right number. But it's nice to have the half point to make it more fun. Everyone, you will either win or lose. BFG, Crocs, Slow, and Lawless. This pool does nothing for me. I mean, this pool for me is worse than Pool A. Like BFG is going to just smash these teams. It's going to be a joke.
Is there a chance that everybody's just like writing off Crocs as a fluke of the rankings? Is this?
Yes. Are you? What is the line on BFG?
Could they be good? Could Crocs be better than everybody's giving them credit for?
I mean, sure, I guess. But what is the line on BFG Crocs?
I don't know. BFG -3.5.
I mean, this Crocs team lost to Hybrid at regionals. What is the best win for this team?
Their resume is.
You can't find it. You can't find it.
They beat Shine.
It's nice
11,
for them.
10.
They have
they
get a soft pool. They might finish second in this pool, but they're going to get smoked by BFG.
Yeah, their resume
Crocs could absolutely beat Slow again, and I think they can beat Lawless. It's a weak pool. It's a weak pool.
I'm with you on that.
So gimme BFG for sure, and then after that, I think I go Crocs, Lawless, and then Slow. Lawless could be good.
I feel like there's a trend. There's a trendy. Lawless is a trendy pick. I feel like a lot of people are going to pick Lawless to finish third in this pool, maybe even second if you're really a Crocs hater. And Slow is going to be a popular last place finisher, I think. Now, I mean, you look at what Lawless has done this year, and yeah, they played PEC West and ESC, and there are not a lot of exciting wins. They got a win over Polar Bears, and then they beat Toro, but like they lost to Slow by 4 at that tournament. They lost to Sprocket, Shame, Dirty Bird twice. Maybe they had a weak roster at that tournament, and they got dogged by Mischief at regionals before beating Sunshine by 5. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what to make of Lawless. I feel like they're inconsistent, but I think I'm definitely going to take BFG to win the pool. I got to agree with you there. I think I'm going to take BFG, and then I am going to take Lawless and Crocs in that order. I'm going to show a little faith in Crocs. Oh, but their resume is so bad.
None of these teams have a good resume.
So yeah.
Henry says we're this pool is tighter than we're making it sound. Points out that back on July 9th, BFG beat Lawless 13-12.
I'm going to go
care what happened in July.
Lawless Crocs. Yeah, July is a long time ago.
I'm sorry. I mean, look, I hold it in my mind that Lawless could be the second best team in this pool and like be a team that actually like makes a run to quarters. I really don't.
I'm picking Lawless to finish second, so I'm going with that Lawless is the second best team in this pool. BFG has kind of a weird resume of their own, to be fair. I mean, they haven't lost a Love Tractor. This is not a infallible juggernaut.
Nobody is in this division. Okay, that brings us to our bracket. We might as well just go through the bracket here. I've been mapping mine out. My pre-quarters are Exist Noise, Amp Mischief, Crocs Sprocket, and Shine Lawless.
We have way too many of the same teams at different spots, but we have basically all the same teams.
I mean, we're both fading Rally, Red Flag, Hybrid, and Slow. I mean, I don't know, like none of those teams, any of those teams could make the bracket, but I do think that's a very reasonable set of teams to not make the bracket. There's nothing crazy in those picks. So anyway, I think Noise is gonna beat Exist in pre-quarters. Noise about to maybe do it again. That sets up Shame Noise, which legitimately Noise could win that game, Keith.
Sure, it's mixed. What game is unwinnable? That is not what I have going on though in my side. Give your full 4, and I'll go through my 4.
All right, I've got Amp to face BFG in quarters. Mm-hmm. I've got Crocs to face Mixtape in quarters, so I've got Crocs over Sprocket. Man, those AD crossovers. I mean, anything is possible. Every team in those pools has to think quarters is possible. Any team. And then Shine Lawless. Give me Lawless to face Dragon in quarters.
So we have pretty similar. So I have Mischief versus Noise in pre-quarters. Give me that Southwest upset, baby. Noise gets knocked out early. The Pool C hype maybe dies down a little bit. I've got Mischief going to quarters to face Shame. I've got Amp over Exist facing BFG in quarters. I've got Sprocket over Lawless. They face Mixtape in quarters, and then I've got Shine over Crocs to face Dragon Thrust in quarters.
I like it. Okay. Dan asks, why aren't we talking about Slow? And Ryan Turner hit us with the shrug. So are we not giving this team enough due? They did win the region, Keith. They did win the Northeast region over the hype that is Exist.
And I've seen this team play well. Like this is not a pushover team or whatever. I just think to me, they have as good a chance of finishing second in Pool D as anybody. But they're just the team that I'm going against. I mean, they have the win over Lawless and they beat Shine. Those are good results. They have some tough losses as well, including the teams in this pool. Like they have the head-to-head loss to Crocs. So there's no reason this team can't play well. I certainly would not. If you told me they finished second in this pool, I wouldn't be shocked by no means. But I'm going to ride with them to finish last.
I mean, they definitely the 14-10 over Lawless in late August should give you some strong hope as a Slow fan. I just feel like we kind of saw Lawless come on late, and I'm expecting them to show strong form because keep in mind, this team is comprised largely of people from Arizona and Southern California, and they're going to have a full complement of players.
So Little B in the chat just said, hasn't Slow been playing for last place the last few nationals? And Ryan Turner said it was just the one time. To be fair to the Little B, Slow has finished in the bottom 4 in 3 of the last 4 years at nationals. So they don't have a good track record as of late. Now they're always at nationals. You never, don't take that away, but the showing at nationals has not been strong lately.
All right, Keith, I'm going to move on to my quarters picks. You ready?
Yeah, we got to squeeze it in here over this next hour. So
yeah, we got it here. We keep it moving. Shame Noise. I got Shame. I think Noise makes it much closer than the last time they played, but I still think Shame deserves the credit of the season that they've had, and I think they're just way deeper than Noise. I'm just not sure Noise has the horses to pull it off again this year with the crazy run through the bracket, but they have proven me wrong every year. It seems.
Noise loves this. Noise wants us to count them out so bad.
I've got Amp over BFG. That's going to be a great game. I've got Mixtape Easy over Crocs, and I've got Dragon over Lawless.
I have all of the same teams advancing over, not necessarily over the same teams. I have Shame over Mischief, Amp over BFG, and that great rematch. You know, we've seen these two teams battle out a bunch of times. Should be a great one, but I'm taking Amp. Then I've got Mixtape over Sprocket and Dragon Thrust over Shine.
All right, well, you go then, because we have the same semis teams. I'll let you go.
We do.
Pick all the way to the finals. Pick all the way to your winner.
All right, I'm taking Shame over Amp. I know Amp is the only team to beat Shame this year. I think these teams match up really interestingly with each other. They're two teams I think would love, like the plan A is we're just going to out athlete you. Like plan A is we're sending it, we're throwing the jump ball, we're racing you up the line, do something about it. And I think that Shame is better at that game. Now I do think Amp's other game may be a little more well-rounded. I think Shame has the women matching players to really go head to head with Amps. So I'm taking Shame over Amp in one semi, and then I've got the run ends. I really like both Mixtape and Dragon Thrust, but Mixtape's performance this season has just given me too much pause. And I think that talent wise, Dragon Thrust can go head to head with them. So I think I know Dragon Thrust had their early stumbles in the season. Those games were literally by one goal. Like we made too big a deal over it over the course of the year. There are a lot of really good players on this Dragon Thrust team on both sides of this matchup. I think this could be a classic semifinal, but I'm taking Dragon to upset to beat Mixtape. It doesn't sound is it an upset? I don't even know. I really don't know at this point.
Not by the seed.
Not by seed. Not by my odds in the Super League, but yeah. I feel like the public wants Mixtape. The people want Mixtape.
It's, you know, disrespect to the Midwest. What's new? What's new? All right. I've got AMP over Shame. I think that just the winning experience at this level gives AMP an edge. And Shame has historically underperformed in these spots. And it's not like they brought in some killer to take them across the line. They have the talent to win that game, but I'm not sure they have the mentality. So
Matty Russell's not a killer to you? Come on.
They have great players, but I'm saying they don't have somebody who's like a proven winner who can like, it's like when Bo joined the Empire, it was like he brought a mentality to the team that they could win. That's an old reference. I'm pulling my Evan Lepler card out on that one. Let's talk about Bo 5 years after he was involved. Mixtape Dragon. I'm going the other way, Keith. I'm taking Mixtape. Give me the team with the best player in the game. And that's Khalif. I'll take that team because I think it's a really close matchup. And I like Mixtape in this spot. Unfortunately for Mixtape, I do not like them against AMP. I think AMP is a team that, it's a classic matchup, first of all. Like, who doesn't want to tune in to watch AMP Mixtape? That's hype. And I just think AMP has the better overall pieces this year than Mixtape. They're the more talented team. And so I'm taking them in the rematch after pool play. When all the chips are down, I think I take AMP. So I've got Mixtape over AMP and pool play and the other way around in the final.
This is how you know we're doing the mixed division, because I've gone against my greater instincts here. All year, just like last year, I've been on AMP Mixtape. AMP and Mixtape. These are the best teams. Comes to Nationals, I don't have either in finals. I've got Dragon Thrust, Shame, and AMP and Mixtape losing in semis. I still think Shame really is going to be a tough matchup for AMP. They've got some big athletes to deal with Henry Yang and Paulo. It's like they're going to be tough. That said, it's hard to shake what we saw from Shane the last time they were this deep in the tournament, right? It's hard to shake it. I know there's no Nick Lance, and it's not his fault that they lost that game. They probably wouldn't even been there without him. But it's Dragon Thrust, man. Like, this is a brand. This is what they do. They haven't done it in a long time, but it is what they do. I'm taking Dragon over Shame in the final. I think that the big athlete style can come back and bite Shame, especially against a team that I think can play as clean as Dragon Thrust when they need to. They've got Dylan DeClerc to try and slow down some of the deep game that Shame's sending out. I think I'm going to go with Dragon Thrust over Shame in the final. I can't say that any of this feels like a lock. Like it's mixed, but I'm going with Dragon Thrust as my champion. All right, before we get on to the next division, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Deep Looks Nationals Preview. From the team that brought you Contested Strip, One More Year is the world's first ever graphic novel about Ultimate. A classic underdog story about Frisbee, friendship, and beating the odds. Can a colorful team of misfits, losers, and washed-up weirdos win a national championship? Find out in One More Year, a sports comedy epic and the ultimate graphic novel. Pre-order your copy today at the link in our description and back the project on Kickstarter. One More Year.
All right. Well, it's time to move on to the men's division. We got to keep it moving. We're going to go to the top 4 seeds here. Truck, Pony, Revolver, and Chain as your top 4 seeds. I'm looking at my picks. I just tipped my hand on one of them. And so your pool A, Truck, Ring, Bravo, and Darkstar. Keith, we got some real heavy hitters in this pool, and then you got Darkstar, who have been making fun of themselves online, posting various memes about how and what did I say on when we got this pool during the live draw? I said, "Welcome to Nationals, Darkstar." Do you give this Darkstar team a prayer of winning one of these games?
I do. I've seen enough flawed play from a Ring team that I like a lot, and from Bravo, who I also liked a lot, but just continue to not deliver for me. And we think Darkstar's actually like, this is not, this is not one of those teams that like limped their way in, snagging the last bit. Like they went into regionals and did their shit. Like I think that this team has some bona fides, and you were on them going into regionals because of that, because we had seen them actually, go out and get some decent results, and they have some talent on the team. I do think that they're very much in danger of being a happy to be there team, but I kind of think they could actually benefit from that. This feels like a team that like playing loose could be their best case scenario. I still haven't finalized exactly what I'm going to say at the end of this pool, but it might not be Darkstar in last place. I'm telling you, I may predict them to get out of this pool.
Oh my gosh, Keith, we just have way too much of the same wavelength.
No.
I'll just tell you what so look, this is really interesting because we're going to learn a lot from this pool. How good is Ring? I don't really have a good answer to that question. Okay, they beat Chain really at regionals.
The answer's really good.
Right, they might be awesome. Could they be Truck? Like, I know Truck's the favorite to win the whole thing this year, but they got to get past this test against Ring first and foremost. And I don't think that's an easy dub by any stretch. So I'm really curious about that. Obviously, I'm curious about Bravo, a team, by the way, that limped out of pool play last year before winning the championship. It is shocking that this team won a championship last year. I give them a 0% chance of winning a title this year, in case you're wondering. But how do they match up against two powerhouse teams in the division who have been powerhouse teams for years? And, Bravo is such a volatile team. I feel like 1 year they're awful, 1 year they're amazing. And then we have Darkstar, who, I think we can all mostly agree. None of us know much about this team. They're going to have some shooters. If you can turn off their primary option on offense, they're probably going to crumble. But if you let them get going and like find rhythm on offense, they could beat anybody. The good news is, I think for Truck and Ring, they have the right kind of athletes to match up with the big downfield players for Darkstar. I am less convinced about this Bravo team. After they lose to Double Wide at regionals, I am really nervous about this team in this pool. And look, I'm going to do it. I've been going back and forth because I know I'm risking losing myself easy points in like the Beat Charlie challenge here, but I'm going to call my shot. Truck, Ring, Darkstar, Bravo. Bravo goes 0-3 out in pool play.
Why did I let you go first? Why did I let you go first, Charlie? Because I have the same thing in my picks.
No.
There's just when I sat down to do the picks, I just could picture Edward Stevens sitting down to write about Bravo going from champion to out on day one. Like it just materialized in front of me. And yes, Bravo, we should not just like sell Bravo totally short. They beat Ring at Pro Champs.
Is Kins playing? Is Alex Atkins healthy? Like that is a big part of this. I haven't heard anything. 100%. Edward says he's healthy. That to me is a very important detail.
He's on the roster.
Yes, kind of. Maybe they're feeding lies to our reporters. People saying he's not. People saying he is. People saying partly he's playing.
Maybe it's just day to day. He's game time decision.
Not 100%. I'm sticking with it. I don't like the way they came out of regionals. I haven't really been high on this team this whole season. I think it's really hard to back up a championship, and I think Darkstar is a much more dangerous 4 seed than a lot of people are going to give them credit for.
This is exactly what I'm thinking. The performance at regionals worried me quite a bit. Having Alex Atkins back would definitely be a big difference. I don't think Darkstar has a great answer for him. But yeah, I am just worried about this Bravo team after regionals. That is a big part of why I'm picking against them.
All right, let's move on to Pool B. It's Pony, Double Wide, RDU, and Vault. Dream pool for Pony. I think it's a walkover for them. And but I think an interesting conversation, at least for that last spot in pre-quarters. Keith, what are you thinking here?
Hashtag what happened when they dropped the ball? Like that's everybody wants to know. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously this pool feels like a great setup for Pony. I think double wide actually could be sneaky good. I wouldn't be shocked if they give Pony some run. But yeah, I feel like this pool maybe it doesn't have the highest probability of going to seed, but maybe that's pool D. But I think in general the public and me are going to be on Vault over RDU. Vault has the head-to-head in that. I think everyone's going to be fading RDU and say, the Pony win was fraudulent. They shouldn't be seeded this high. That's probably all true. I think they're also going to be happy to be there. I'm taking Pony double wide, Vault RDU, and I think many people will be doing the exact same thing.
That's exactly what I'm doing, Keith. I hate to tell you that I have the same picks here, but I think Vault already having that head-to-head is the scale tipper for me. RDU had a better regionals performance. RDU had a better regionals performance. Vault kind of like they did enough, but I just think I like Vault here.
Yeah, me too. They've got the Nationals experience. They're happy to be there. Is not going to be as much a problem for them.
Tobias Brooks prove it game, says Zach. That'd be high.
Tobias Brooks might go off and RDU still lose.
All right, let's go to Pool C.
That's possible.
Yeah, let's go to Pool C. I'm much more interested in talking about these teams in the bracket from Pool B. Pool C, Revolver, Rhino, Dig, and Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero getting out of the gauntlet that is the North Central Regional. Look, a Revolver team that has kind of was like a buzzy preseason pick for like making a run this year. But Rhino is like the hype team. Is this the year they win it all? And then they have like kind of a lackluster regular season. They pull it together at regionals. I'm very curious to hear where you go here, Keith, because then you've also got Dig, who, of course, they lose to Pony at Northeast Regionals. But I mean, this Dig team is really good. I like Rhino, Revolver, and Dig. I think that how you want to mix up that trio is going to be fascinating. And I'm curious to hear where you go, Keith.
It's super tough and really interesting narratively when you're looking at this Revolver team that I think people generally don't think is that good, but has been really good this year versus a Rhino team that people love the talent on, but doesn't have the results to back it up. And then you got Dig in the mix. I think this is a very curious pool, and I'm not surprised to hear that you're like wondering how I'm going to size it up. We're talking to Patrick Stegenmiller when we're doing the top 25 regs. He's like, I think Rhino's going back to semis. So a lot of people have not given up on Rhino based on how they played in the regular season. Maybe that regionals result is going to shine through for them. I think that I'm not going to go seed here, Charlie. I'm going Dig to win this pool. Dig has one pretty nice win in chain. They have an early season win, but I kind of been waiting for this Dig team to pop off. I think that this could be when it kind of coalesces for them. Simon Carapello looks really good for them this year. Orion Cable could, I think, really put himself like in the all club conversation this weekend. They get Leo Gordon back healthy. Mac Hecht is on the squad. Like, I think that there's the tools here for this team to do well. And I do like Revolver and Rhino as well. Like, these are teams we're going to be talking about in the bracket, but I'm going to take Dig to finish first in this pool. Who do I take to finish second? I think I'm going to take Rhino to finish second, Revolver to finish third. I think that's where I'm going to land.
Fascinating. I got the order wrong when I read off the pool initially, by the way. It's Revolver, Dig, Rhino, Sub-Zero in that order. Rhino, the pot 3 team. Wow, that's fascinating, Keith. I have Dig in the 3 spot. I kind of have a little bit of topsy-turviness in this pool. I've got Rhino winning this pool, Revolver second, Dig third, Sub fourth. I kind of think Sub is going to pick off a team and then still lose the pool. I don't know why. Like, I shouldn't be giving Sub-Zero respect, but there's just something telling me that they like snipe Rhino, and then Rhino goes 2-1, beats Revolver, who also goes 2-1 to win the pool. And then we see Dig beat Sub. They both go 1-2, and Dig gets the last spot in pre-quarters. That's my prediction. I'm getting specific. And does that make any sense? No. That's pure vibes pick right there. I just think Sub's going to have one really good game and get a win. And then they're probably going to get,
I like Sub's roster, but I like Sub's roster, but the tape is just not strong. Not strong for me. So, yeah, I'm sticking with my order, even though I toyed with the idea of a Sub upset. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a three-way tie in the top 3 spots. I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at 2-1.
I can see that. Matt Stevens is shocked I picked Rhino, but why? This Rhino team is coming off of a semis appearance last year and added Dylan Freechild. Just let me say that again. Semis last year plus Freechild. And I don't really care that they had a weird start to their season. I think when it's time to go at Nationals, we've seen this Rhino team show up now for a couple of seasons. This is the team that almost took Pony out in quarters. When was that? Was that 19 or 21? I've completely lost track of time. I think this Rhino team has a great Nationals. That's what I expect.
And I mean, look at our top 25 player rankings. If you took this pool and took the top 25 players that are in this pool, you're going to get through 2 or 3 Rhino guys before you get to another team. I think Orion Cable maybe disrupts that, but not to say that that's gospel or anything, but it just gives you a sense of how talented this Rhino team is.
I think we could be underappreciating the level of quality that Revolver brings to the table, and also possibly Dig. Both of these teams have a lot of young players coming up who are not established club names yet, but the eras are turning over a little bit. And it's not implausible to me that Dylan is kind of doesn't blow up like he did when he was at his absolute peak in 18, 19. But I mean, I give the guy credit. He's still early 30s. He's still one of the best players of the last decade. And I think that when it's time to go at Nationals, he's going to be there. Adam Reese erasure, says Zach. That's what I'm saying. I think there's guys on these teams that are really good. I actually like this pool overall. And I think you're going to see in my picks that I have some respect. Okay. Let's move to Pool D. We've got Chain, Machine, Furious George, and Blueprint. And this one is just very interesting to me. I want to pick Blueprint to win a game so bad. I just want to believe. I want to believe. I'm Fox Mulder. I just watched the X-Files last night. And I want to pick them, but I just don't think I can. I just think that this is a classic, barely did it, caught fire at the right time at regionals team. They just don't have the horses to beat a top level team from a city. And even though Furious George, I think is susceptible to losing, I just don't see it happening. I hope they play great. I hope they're competitive in these games, and it will be a lot of fun if they get an upset, or if they even keep a game close late and we show them on Field Pass. That would be sick. But I do have them going 0-3. I have Machine winning this pool. I'm believing in early Machine. Trust me, I'll fade them later. Don't worry. But on day one, I got Machine making moves. They have a lot of talent. I think they have the most talent of any team outside of Truck and Pony. And so I like them here over Chain. I've got Chain in the 2 spot. I've got Furious kind of distantly in 3rd, and then Blueprint after that.
Bro, give me some of what you're having if you think Blueprint is going to be a shocker to people. I am here for rooting for Blueprint, for wanting to believe. We obviously have personal ties to Blueprint, and you're straight up in New York, but you are like X-Files, except with none of the evidence, bro. It's just vibes.
All right, Scully.
I can't. Oh man. I mean, this team Blueprint lost to a team called DIY. I'll give you $10 if you can tell me where DIY is from. All right,
I'm sorry, I don't know, but
I don't either. I had to look it up.
Look at the results. Look at the results that they got at Northeast Regionals. That's the team that you have to look at and believe in.
It's Dig Y. I think it's Dig's Y team.
They beat a really good Phoenix team. Sprout is a team that people had maybe as the I don't know. If you think, how much would you fade Phoenix or Sprout if they were Nationals as a 4-pot team? Would you fade them super hard?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes.
Fair enough.
I mean, if this were ESC, you wouldn't even. I don't even know if you'd say Blueprint was like the favorite to win.
I get you. I'm not picking them to win a game.
Okay. All right. All that said, much love, Blueprint. I hope you go out and shock the world, but I can't put money on that right now. That said, really interesting classic 4-5. I think that Machine and Chain are like Spider-Man meme. Hard for them to put together two halves, but when their O-lines are clicking, they look like they could be title teams. So this is a coin flip matchup to me. I went back and forth trying to figure out which one of them I thought would win. I didn't actually flip a coin, but I am going to take Machine to win. I like the talent and a little bit of the experience more. So I'm taking Machine to win this pool, then Chain, then Furious, then Blueprint.
Zach says he feels like the Frisbee Collective just forgot about Chain the last couple months. I mean, look, credit to Chain, who goes out there at Pro Champs and balls out. But then they lose to Ring. Like if they had won the Southeast, I would feel a little differently. And it's not like they beat a shorthanded pony team at Pro Champs, very shorthanded, I should note. And then they do beat Machine 14-12 at Pro Champs. So that's certainly a notch in their favor. But otherwise, like, I think they're going to be really competitive, but I just think Machine's really good. I think Chain's really good. Again, you're going to see my picks later. I have respect for these teams, but not everybody can win the pool, folks. I got Machine.
Let's get to it.
Fine, go.
Are we doing pre-quarters?
Right. Yeah. Let's just quickly run.
Let's
through
just do it. Let's hit them all. Okay.
For me, they feel Revolver. Like...
All right. I've got Revolver and Double Wide. I'm taking Revolver to advance to face Truck. Got Rhino and Vault. I'm taking Rhino and a Runaway to face Machine. I've got Chain and Dark Star. I've got 2 4 seeds in the bracket. What's going on? What am I doing? And then I've got Chain faces. So Chain will face Dig in quarters, and then I've got Ring over Furious. They'll move on to face Pony.
All right, I have Double Wide versus Dig. I'm taking Dig. I have Revolver versus Vault. I'm taking Revolver. I have Chain and Dark Star. Give me Chain. And I have Ring and Furious. Give me Ring. Giving me Truck Dig, Machine Revolver, Rhino Chain, and Pony Ring.
All right, so my quarters, I've got Truck over Revolver. I've got Machine over Rhino. I've got Chain over Dig. I'm telling you, I think Chain and Machine are both good. And Dig good, talented, but not. I don't know if they've got the Nationals experience to really go out there and deliver. Maybe you could say the same of Chain, but they've got some of the AUDL championship experience too. And then I've got Pony over Ring. I really I sat down and I got this matchup and I was like, oh my gosh, I like this Ring team so much. I would love to get them into semis, but I have to like mechanically rearrange things for them to not play Pony for that to happen. And I just don't believe in it. So I'm taking Pony over Ring in quarters.
I mean, look at these quarters matchups that I have. I mean, no matter what we get, do we have the same 8 teams in quarters?
No, I have Revolver. Or do we both have Revolver and Dig?
Yeah, I have Revolver and Dig.
Yeah. Okay, then yes, we do.
Basically, I'm fading Double Wide out of quarters. Otherwise, I have all the pot 1 and 2 teams.
Yeah, we do have the
replacing Double Wide.
Same 8 teams
in a head-to-head, which by the way I think will be very competitive. I think Double Wide. I initially had Double Wide and then I swapped. Oh, that's a good point. I forgot. Okay, Truck Dig. I got to take Truck. I just think the depth and the skill from the O-line too much for Dig to deal with. Machine Revolver. This is where Machine blows it, folks. I'm taking Revolver. This San Francisco team should be getting more respect than they get. They had a boring region, so nobody paid any attention to it. I understand that, but I really like Revolver here at Nationals. I think they get to semis again. Rhino, Chain. Oh, this one is so hard. I really don't know what's going to happen here. I think I'm going to change my pick, and I'm going to take Chain. I was going to take Rhino, but I'm not sure that I'm going to go. Just Chain's season has been so much better. That one's so close. I feel like that's a pick 'em. I'll stick with Chain. And then I've got Pony Ring. As tantalizing a matchup as that is, I just don't think Ring has it. I don't think Ring can hang. I think that game's like 15-10 Pony. It's a great. People are going to want to watch that game, and if we get that game, it's going to be really exciting. I'm sure it's going to get streamed, but man, I don't know if it's going to deliver on the way that people would hope. Maybe I'm disrespecting Ring too much or giving Pony's O-line too much credit, but give me Pony. So I've got Truck, Revolver, and Chain Pony in semis.
I've got Truck and Machine in semis. I've taken Truck to win that. Everything we said about Truck still true. I think they're really good. And you know what? Give me the grudge match, man. How am I going to pick Chain or Machine over Truck and Pony right now? Like I'm taking Pony. The things are going to get worked out, and even if they don't, they're just too talented. Like they win even when they're like not. They aren't optimized. So I'm taking Truck and Pony in the final.
Me too.
I think that's going to be very popular.
I don't think I need to elaborate on why. I mean, I think these two teams have clearly separated themselves. Now, the question, Keith, is what are you going to do? Pony beat Truck back at US Open, and then a shorthand, and Truck was missing some guys. Then a shorthanded Pony team faces Truck at Pro Champs, gets smoked. Are you taking Truck or Pony?
Charlie, I am taking Pony.
There it is.
The talent, it's the combination of the talent, the experience, and the coaching. Like the things are going to get ironed out. Like you can't give a player this good, this kind of hand and expect them to fail. You know, so I'm taking Pony.
Me too. I wanted to talk myself into Truck. I think Truck has been the better regular season team pretty clearly. I think Truck is very talented. I like the roster. I like everything about it. But look at the Pony team roster when they're at full strength. Are you kidding me? This team is the most talent we've ever seen. And you know what happens at Club Nationals? The top talent wins 90% of the time. And they just win. And it's just win, baby. The combination of Kocher and Jack Williams, Ryan Osgood. I mean, Jimmy Mickle is like the sixth best player on this team right now. Are you serious? Like, I'm sorry. There's just too much skill here. They beat Dig by 4 at regionals. I just think that, and by the way, DC has no idea how to beat New York City right now in Elite Men's Ult. It's true. Like, look what happened with the Empire. The Breeze came out in the playoffs and played pretty well and lost massively because they had truly no answers defensively. What is this Truck team going to do to stop this Pony O?
I mean, they're going to let Pony stop themselves, I'm pretty sure.
Right, and that's going to be the question. And it's really all going to come down to that. If the players are in the right places for New York, they should win comfortably this tournament. And it will be I will say it now, it will be a massive failure if Pony does not win. Massive failure.
I think I agree with that. B, I think in the quadrant of potential outcomes, I think Truck getting blown out is less likely than Pony getting blown out. But I think I have Pony to win. Like I think Pony wins this game 55-45 if you're running the Sims or whatever. Because I think Truck they are getting so much out of their pieces. Like they are doing what Pony is not, which is like finding ways to optimize with the tools that they have. And then their roster has gotten more and more talented over time. So I think that Truck can make this close. They can close the talent gap with some of the other things that they've got going on. And because of that, I think they just won't get blown out. Pony not figuring it out and getting blown out feels more likely to me than Truck getting run out of the gym by New York because they have the New York monkey on their back or whatever. So I am taking Pony, but I see this as a lot closer, I think, than you probably do.
I mean, I think it could be a close game. 15-13, but I think Pony wins without like a question, assuming that they have the pieces in the right places. And that is a big assumption, I will admit. But, Cody says seemed like Truck had the hang of it at Pro Champs in terms of disrupting the offense. Sure, but I mean, am I supposed to believe that that's the Pony team we're going to see at Nationals? Because I don't. I mean, Cody can try to move the needle on the expectations level right now, but I'm sorry. I just watched the Empire, which I think is arguably, I don't know. I'm curious what people in the chat would say. Empire or Pony in a head-to-head matchup, assuming both teams were like clones, all that stuff. I, I, I just like the Empire were overwhelming against the teams that they played, including, by the way, DC, a very, very good Breeze team that is very comparable to Truck. And people are saying Pony beats Empire. Everybody's saying Pony beats Empire. So, okay. Like, why does this Pony team lose? The only reason they lose is because they didn't figure it out. And that would be a colossal disaster. And I don't expect it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm betting against it too. Pony is just there's too many different paths for them to be successful here, and
all right,
so they don't even have to hit on every note.
Let's keep it moving. We go to the women's division, and here we go. We begin with our top seeds. If I can find my proper tab. Number 1 overall seed Scandal. Number 2 Phoenix. Number 3 Fury. Number 4 Molly Brown. Got a great question in the chat about Molly Brown and Manu and Vale. Keith, it's from our email. Let's make sure we pull that up because I want to talk about it. Pool A, Scandal, Brute Squad, Schwa, and Pop. Now, in general, I think there's like some striation in the women's division, so there won't be maybe as many games to talk about here, but do you have a Brute Squad upset over Scandal, Keith? You thinking about it?
Not really, no. We've seen some things pop up from Brute Squad. They're, they'll have Leaf cut back. So those are kind of your angles to change things up. But I think Scandal's established themselves pretty well. I think Brute Squad is a little more hit or miss than people have given them credit for. And maybe getting Leaf cut back is supposed to kind of paper that over, or how they performed at regionals. But I'm still a little like out of the team. I mean, they got absolutely ran over by Scandal at Pro Champs. Like, how can you not think about that when you're thinking about this matchup? So yeah, I'm not too much on the upset. Of course, I think this is a pretty compelling pool play matchup, but to me, it's not even my favorite pool play matchup.
Well, I mean, I would love to see Brute really show up and play their best ultimate, because I think they could make it a game. But I agree with you. Scandal just a step above this year, and we got to trust our eyes and not just the legacy of the team. I have this pool going to seed pretty straightforwardly. I think Schwa is a big jump ahead of Pop. And honestly, I could see Schwa upsetting Brute Squad. It wouldn't totally blow me away, but I do have it going Scandal, Brute, Schwa, Pop.
I do too. I have it going to seed. Schwa is just the results haven't been there for them to be super excited about them. They had their best wins have been over other Northwest teams who have their own consistency issues. So I just haven't seen it yet. I like the roster on paper for Schwa, but the lack of results is scary.
All right, here we go. Phoenix, Flipside, Nemesis, and Nightlock in Pool B. This is an interesting top 2 team matchup here as well. Phoenix and Flipside. They've played some good games in the past. Keith, what do you see here?
Charlie, this to me is the pool play matchup to see. This Flipside and Phoenix. Everybody's talking about Brute and Scandal. Scandal gets screwed by the ping pong balls. They get the 5 seed. I want to see Flipside go in there. This team feels to me like they're on that precipice. They were absolutely crushed when they played the lower seeded teams at regionals, and they were right there with Fury. Like, I don't see why this team isn't right there. I think they're talented, and I wrote them off a little bit going into the year. I thought losing Dino was just going to be too much for them to overcome, but that's not been the case. Megan Maxfield has fit in well. Kayla Heldon. Christopher Junis is an awesome defender. Maggie O'Connor's great for them. Dina Slattery. Dina Slattery is one of the most underrated players in the women's division. I'm a huge fan. I think that the top of this pool is really compelling. The bottom of this pool is a lot less compelling. I don't know what's going to happen at the top or the bottom pairing, but I just don't really care that much at the bottom. I don't give these teams a lot of credit moving forward either. So to me, it's all about Phoenix and Flipside in this pool. And Charlie, I'm taking the Flipside upset over Phoenix.
Wow.
So I'm taking Flipside to win this pool.
What? Tell me more about that. I'm curious why you like that pick after what we've seen from Phoenix late season.
I mean, I laid out the case for this flip side team, right? They are like they're right there as good as the other top 6 teams, like and
Sure.
maybe better. Like I think I like them more than Brute Squad. And yeah, Phoenix has been playing really well this year. I don't take anything away from that. But I also think, that we don't usually see this team just like hang up at the top, right? And I think that you're gonna see Phoenix stumble. I still think that they are capable of winning a title. Like I think that this team has the goods, as it were. But I also think that they might not be. They may be caught a little off guard by how good this flip side team is. So I'm gonna say that Phoenix has played really well lately. It was a little concerning that there's some things about them that I'm not quite sure about. Like it just doesn't seem like their O-line is quite ironed out, and sometimes they just rely on their athleticism to kind of paper over that. But I think Flipside is good enough to take them down.
I like to pick, Keith. I'm going to go Phoenix Flipside Nightlock Nemesis. That's what I've
also got
Nightlock
over Nemesis.
And I want to endorse what you say about how good this matchup is at the top. To me, it's one of the best matchups in pool play outright across divisions. Flipside plays a very exciting style of Ultimate, and those two teams haven't played each other yet this year. I'm hyped. Let's move to Pool C. Fury, Bent, Riot, and Parcha. Well, Bent's got their work cut out for them. They got to play a Riot team that came back and beat them earlier this season in kind of heartbreaking fashion, and then they got to deal, of course, with Fury. I'll go first here. I think I like Bent's chances to make a little run here at Nationals, but I don't really think it starts in pool play. I don't see them getting the upset over Fury. It's just too much to ask. Is that their first game? No, they do get the warm-up game against Parcha. They play Fury in the final round of the day. I do like that. I think if they had to play Fury first, it would be kind of a terrible draw. They kind of ramp up Parcha, Riot, and then Fury. Even still, Fury just too deep, too physical on defense to like make this Bent team kind of like be able to just do what it wants to do offensively. But I do have Bent getting the ups. It's not an upset, but the revenge win over Riot. So ultimately, I'm going to seed here. Although I think Riot deserves a look as a team that could score some upsets. They've had a nice season and are kind of back on the come up.
Yeah, I've been in on Riot all year, but I still don't know if I can quite get there with them over Bent, who delivered, I think, in pretty nicely at regionals. It's good to see that team finally feeling like they're getting an identity together of how they want to play and getting on the same page. But this is a team that doesn't have a ton of experience with nationals. Dealing with the way that the schedule is, the emotions of nationals, like all of those challenges. Yes, they have experienced players who've played in important games, but there is something to like knowing exactly how you're going to progress through nationals. And I think this pool is kind of a tough draw for them because while I don't have Parcha for an upset, I do think they're a team that can really wear on you. They can play really physically. They just are a hang around team. And I think Riot's the best team in the 3 seed, maybe, maybe not. Maybe Traffic's there in pot 3. So I think this is a tough draw for Bent. They're going to have to play good games in all of their games. And I don't know if that's the case for other 2 seeds. I think that makes it all the more likely that they're not going to be able to get an upset over Fury. So I have this pool going to seed. And I think that Riot Bent game is going to be another close one.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I so far I have all the pools to seed. Let's go to the final pool. Molly Brown, Sixers, Traffic, and Grit. Keith, what are you thinking here?
Well, I think that a lot of the questions about this pool are going to be what Traffic are we going to see? What Sixers are we going to see? Like we've seen these teams be inconsistent. Yes, Traffic beat Molly earlier in the year handily. They also lost handily at that same tournament. So this Traffic team has been super inconsistent all year long. And I do think that makes them a bit of a danger to Molly Brown, but I also could see them, losing to Molly Brown 15-7. Like that is very much a possibility. And I don't exactly know what to make of this pool. Sixers, concerning performance at regionals. There's no way around it. But I think I wonder a little bit about them integrating these new players late in the year. Is that going to be a challenge for them? We have seen them do that before. They have experience doing that. And they really could use the extra bodies, because I think they're still over reliant on their top end. But I think their top end is like really good. That grouping of obviously BDS and Sarah Jacobson and Alyssa Mason, like that trio. I know a lot of people are high on some of these players that they're adding to. So I think that all of that together like makes them a little bit scary. They're definitely a team that I think is upset live, even if you're concerned about how they played at regionals. That said, I am going to still take Molly Brown to win this pool. I think that they're the most paths to success. No, if there was somebody else who had been like consistent, really good, I might be worried about some of the shakiness we've seen from Molly Brown. But I think that if all these teams are going to be a little up and down, I'm going to take the one with the most talent and the most proven success. To me, that's definitely Molly Brown. So I'm taking Molly Brown to finish first. And then the Canadian matchup, like what do you do with two inconsistent teams like Traffic and Sixers? I think that's makes it a really tough choice between the two as far as who you're going to take to finish second in the pool. I think I'm going to take Traffic. I think it's still going to take Sixers more time to put it all together. So I think I'm going to take Traffic to finish second in the pool.
I don't know how to assess Sixers when they're still adding players and like they have injuries though, and they kind of stunk at regionals. And Traffic, I kind of feel like I know what I'm going to get. They're always solid, you know? They're never a team that's going to win nationals, but they're always going to be in quarters. And that's kind of what I'm feeling here. I think that they beat Sixers, who is kind of trending in the wrong direction and frankly is just like a little less talented than they were a year ago and in recent past. They have maybe better top 3, 4 type players than Traffic, but I think the bottom end of the roster is significantly in Traffic's favor. Either way, I think both of these teams get through to pre-quarters, so it may not matter that much. I think Grit finishes last in this pool pretty comfortably. Molly, are they susceptible here? I kind of don't think so, but I am worried about Molly Brown deeper in the tournament. So we'll get to that. So I've got Molly, Traffic, Sixers, and Grit. That gives me pre-quarters. Flipside, Riot, winner plays Scandal. Bent, Nightlock, winner plays Molly. Traffic, Schwa, winner plays Fury. Brute, Sixers, winner plays Phoenix. I'm taking the kind of the favorites in all those matchups. So all the 2 seeds moving on. Brute Squad, Traffic, Bent, and Flipside, which yields quarters of Scandal Flipside, Molly Bent, Fury Traffic, and Phoenix Brute. Fun games. Keith, where are you going?
It's funny that you're like, it might not matter so much between Traffic and Sixers because I feel confident they're both going to make the bracket. Yeah, if you finish second, you play Schwa or whatever, and if you finish third, you have to play Brute Squad. Like that definitely is a big difference.
You're not wrong.
Maybe we shouldn't totally write off Grit. You know, they lost by 2 to Traffic. Like an upset's definitely possible, especially given what we've seen from Sixers and Traffic this year. I think Grit is good enough to capitalize on one of those teams not playing well. My pre-quarters, I've got Phoenix and Riot. I'm taking Phoenix to advance to face Scandal. That's tantalizing. I've got Bent over Nightlock. They face Molly Brown in quarters. I've got Traffic over Schwa in one of my 2 regional matchups in pre-quarters. I'll take the team that won at regionals. And the same for Brute and Sixers. As much as I want to back this Sixers team that I get excited about every year, I know that I'm with Traffic. The women's division is like the one place I feel like I'm a little safe from my no Canada bubble, but I feel like I can rely a little bit, but Brute's just has clearly had Sixers number, and adding a couple of players, like when Brute's adding players too, like I can't get behind it. So I'm taking Brute to win that one, even though I want to pick another Sixers upset.
I know you do. There's some upset potential in this quarters round though, Keith. So why don't you go ahead and give us your the rest of the way for you? Starting with quarters.
All right, so I've got in quarters, I've got Phoenix and Scandal. I'm taking Phoenix, Charlie. I had them lose to Flipside in pool play, and I told you I think that they're good. I'm taking them to knock out Phoenix, to knock out Scandal. Excuse me. I think that I'm not entirely sure that I buy that Scandal can get by relying on this handler group. That is still my misgiving about this team. They have enough good handlers that like one of them is on every game, and that's fine. But they're none of them I feel like are that experienced in like the real pressure cooker of nationals. So that is the thing that worries me about this team. And so I'm gonna take Phoenix to advance here over a Scandal team. That I think these two teams are going to be really well prepared for each other. I could easily see either one going on to a title. But a quarters matchup that I think is really tough to pick, and I'm still taking Phoenix to win. Do you want a reaction to that? Do you have a reaction to that one specifically?
I mean, dang, I don't know why, but I also feel very skeptical about Scandal's ability to win a championship. I shouldn't, but I mean, you taking Phoenix literally went 2-0 against them at Pro Champs. It's not like it's like completely out of nowhere. I don't have the same matchup in quarters, so I'll give you my thoughts on my quarters matchup, which is Scandal flip side when I get to it. Okay.
So I'm moving on. I've got Molly Brown over Bent. I just think Bent hasn't been here enough. Molly Brown does what Bent does better. I've got Fury over Traffic. I don't think I need to elaborate a ton on that. And I've got Flip Side over Brute. I told you I basically have laid out. I'm high on Flip Side. I'm not that high on Brute. So through the show, you basically have my analysis right there.
All right. Well, I'll start at the bottom. Phoenix Brute. I'm taking Phoenix. I think they match up well with Brute, and I think they're more talented than Brute. So I don't actually. That's one of the easier picks. Fury over Traffic is the easiest pick for me. Fury is just death, taxes, and Fury in semis. Okay, let's get to the top side of this bracket. Molly Bent, you just went right past it.
Okay.
I am thinking about this one, Keith. I got to be honest.
All right.
Molly has not been dominant in the way that we saw from them when they kind of turned it on last season. And while I think they are a more talented team than Bent, I'm ultimately, look, I'm going to pick Molly here, but I want it on the record that I considered Bent for this spot. It's a nothing to lose game for Bent. Molly has disappointed in big spots all season. I just don't think Bent has enough horses to win this game, but let it be known that they are going to be more competitive than people say. People call me a homer, whatever. I'm just, Charlie, I'm telling it like I see it. And I have faded Bent when it's been right. And I am skeptical of this Molly team this year.
Charlie, we have done 468 episodes of the show together, I think. And I've never called you a homer. But come on. Oh man, you were close. If you didn't pick Bent there.
I'm not picking them. They don't have enough talent to beat Molly. But it's going to be a closer game than people expect. That's what you heard. All right, here we go. Scandal Molly is semi number 1. Fury Phoenix is semi number 2. I'm sorry, Phoenix. I can't do it. I got to take Fury. I would even be willing to hear that Phoenix is a more talented team than Fury, but I just trust the Fury team in this spot. And remember, we got the classic between these two teams, and it went Fury's way barely last time. And that was a time when Fury was a much heavier favorite than they would be in this matchup. I think the line is probably only like Fury -1.5, maybe -2.5 in this game. And it was probably like -4.5 the last time they faced off in 2019, right? 2021? I don't remember. I'm going to keep saying that. I never remember. But what a classic game. I hope we get something special like that again. But I got to take Fury. I trust the program, Keith.
It's 2021 for the record. This Fury logic for me kind of applies on my side too. I have Fury and Flip Side. They've played close games.
It's a dream matchup for Fury in quarter and semis.
Fury won 15-13 at regionals. So like by no means is this like a lock, but the team that's been there a million times, that has all the big names who've played in all these big games, like the coaching staff. Like it's hard for me to even construct a case for a Flipside team I like to beat Fury in the semifinals of Nationals. It's just really difficult to do that. So I'm just going to take Fury in this situation, even though Flipside I think can compete. Too many variables that are in Fury's favor going here. I also have Phoenix and Molly Brown. This was a pretty tough pick. I think at this point you're kind of like splitting hairs between teams that have similar talent levels. But I'm taking Phoenix to the final in this one. I think that this team is like they're ready to take their big step forward, and I feel like we haven't seen the same fight from Molly Brown this year. And like, so I feel like Phoenix is just this like hyper motivated, and Molly Brown looks a little championship hungover, you know? And I think that now Phoenix is starting to feel like they're really they're not the scrappy underdog. They can go toe to toe from a talent standpoint with these top teams. And so to me, the combination of like that scrappiness and that motivation and the coaching against a Molly Brown team that obviously is still really talented, but doesn't have that big of an advantage of Phoenix in that regard. I'm taking Phoenix to get to the final here.
So much of it feels like it's going to come down to matchups. I think I would take that same pick
if you had Phoenix
if I had that matchup, but I don't.
Right.
I have Scandal Molly, and I think the Molly just doesn't quite have it this year. It's super hard to repeat, and I think Scandal and Claire Trope in particular do. And I'm taking Scandal. I'm taking Scandal to play Fury in the finals. And that should be a fun one. Keith, who are you taking to win it all?
I'm taking San Francisco Fury over Phoenix in the final. Again, just the experience. It means so much. And yes, this is kind of a new generation of Fury in some ways. But this team just like they bring in rookies who aren't rookies, right? Like they're able to pass the torch to Anna Thompson and Dina Elamelek, right? Like most teams can't do that. And this is a team that gets to. And so, when maybe Cree Howard isn't the same player that she used to be, or Khalees Cardenas or Serge, but those players don't have to like carry the team anymore. There are other star players. It's just the way Fury is built. And I think that's a huge part of what makes them successful. This is a team that is just as talented as anybody, plus has all that experience of winning. I think we've also seen KJ, Kirsten Johnson, take a big step forward this year. Kanari Yamanishi. So I like those players to continue to play well all the way down the stretch. I think it could be another great game, though. I really think that when you're talking about this top like 5 or 6 title contender teams, I really think the case you can make for them is all justifiable. I don't think any of them are unbelievable winners at this tournament. So
100% with you.
I'm very excited to see what we get.
Yeah, I've got Scandal and Fury. Scandal's 3-0 against Fury this year, Keith. I'm not going to upset the apple cart. I've got Scandal taking down Fury to win another title. First time since 2016? Been a long time since those Fury Scandal teams of old. Maybe I think that was 20.
I think they won back-to-back in 2013 and 2014, if memory serves.
There you go. Back in the Opie Payne days. Yeah, I so much of it feels like matchups. I think if Scandal plays Phoenix in the final, I'd probably take Phoenix. But I like certain teams matching up with certain other teams, and that's what a fascinating spot for the women's division to be in. But in the past, I mean, you used to just chalk it all the way through the bracket, and it was like, who's going to win the final? Now we're talking about who's going to win the quarters. That's a very good thing for the top of the division. So I'm going Scandal. I'm fully on the Claire Trope hype train, and I think that she's going to show off that she's the world's best player this weekend.
Both have them losing in quarters and still firmly believe Claire Trope is the world's best player. So
that's fair.
I don't believe I have to pick one.
I understand the skepticism, Keith, but the problem is when I look at the actual results, I'm like, why should I be skeptical? All they do is continue to show up. Like 3-0 against Fury. Tell me how that's not a fluke. That's not a fluky win. I mean,
Phoenix, when you stack up the Phoenix resume next to Scandals, like Phoenix's resume looks strong too. So that's
I'm not denying that.
I know. All right, so run down your champions one more time.
Okay, my champions. In the women's division, I've got Scandal beating Fury in the final. In the mixed division, I've got Amp over Mixtape in the final. And in the men's division, I've got Pony over Truck Stop in the final.
All right, we are identical in the men's division. I also have Pony and Truck. I've got Fury over Phoenix in the women's division, and I've got Dragon Thrust over Shame in the mixed division. I love that the mixed division is the one where, of course, we don't even have the same finalists.
Great stuff. Really quick, what's your sneaky game pick here, Keith?
Oh, sneaky. I mean, you can kind of pick from how I broke down my bracket. I think Flipside is a team with a ton of upside that people are probably not going to be picking because everybody's going to be like looking at Brute Squad and some of these other teams. I guess I like Shine and Mischief too. Mischief is probably my best value play because I like them so much, even though they're a $1 team. But I think that there's going to be a couple teams that people coalesce to, like usual. I think Rhino is going to be one of those teams. I think Rhino is going to be super popular. I think some of these two seed teams that are very good, like Brute Squad, I think will be really popular, and obviously Mixtape. So I think those are going to be where a lot of people go to. But looking elsewhere, these are the teams I like.
All right, I want give us your hottest take about nationals in the chat, folks. We'll pull out a couple of hot takes. Keith, pull that question that we just got today from the Deep Look inbox about Manu and Vale. I want to address that before we wrap up. Will says, watching Makana play Revo in the semis of Colombian Nationals. Makana is the new team that Manu and Vale kind of started to play now against Revo instead of with them. And Makana won that game yesterday, by the way, Keith. Kind of a surprise result. I mean, it shows you how good Manu and Vale are, by the way. I'm curious to get your thoughts on the extent to which Colombian Nationals might affect the play and results at U.S. Nationals. My first thought is about physical exhaustion because players like Vale, Manu, Ina Cartagena, etc. are playing in essentially 2 4-day tournaments in the span of less than a week. The same thing was true last year, and it didn't seem to be a significant factor, but I do think Vale and Manu are playing more points in Makana than for Revo, and certainly in a more competitive game. That's my note. My second thought is on momentum in terms of winning. Last year, the Cardenas twins both played with Revo, who won, and then their new team is about to play in the final after beating Revo in the semis. Considering Molly Brown won the tournament as the 3 seed last year, do you think the competitive momentum of winning a Columbia National Championship could give Molly an edge and help them put a run together at Nationals? Revo lost at Nationals for the first time since 2009. Yesterday, by the way.
Okay, so the first there's basically 2 questions in here, right? The first is like, are Vale and Manu, like, is it better or worse for them to have played at Columbia Nationals this year? Am I getting that right?
What? Sorry, say it again.
So the first question basically like about Manu and Vale, like does it help? I mean,
there's kind of like, yeah. And I guess you could look at it in 2 ways, right? Like there's the momentum side if they win it. And then there's like the physical tiredness side of having to play this tournament and then fly to the US and play in another tournament.
I honestly don't really worry about that with them. One day we're going to have to because they've just played so many points of Ultimate in their life at an incredibly high level and just with a really high motor. So if at some point they're going to burn out, right? They can't last forever. They're human beings. But that said, this is nothing new to them. Like the emailer said, like they probably had to play more points with Revo. There were no more points to play. Like you can't play more than what they were playing, basically, even on a new team. I mean, they were playing like every point with Revo. I don't see how it's going to make a big difference one way or the other. I think this is something they're well versed in and going to be prepared to do. The club championships are spread out over 4 days. So I think it'll make it a little bit easier for them. So I'm not too worried about that, nor do I think the momentum will be a big deal. I think that they've played they've played with so many different teams over their careers. They in different contexts, playing in this league and that league, playing in the PUL, playing in an international play, playing with this international team, and then the world they've just been in so many places. Like, I just don't think this stuff really phases them, or does much to boost them either.
Yeah, I think if there's any players in the division who are well suited to being able to handle the volume of play necessary, it's Manu and Vale. I mean, they're still in their early 20s. It's so much easier to recover at that age. They do get, multiple days off. Yes, they have to travel, but they've been doing this. And they've played such high volume roles for both Revo and Molly in the past. I'm really not worried about it. I also don't think that whatever happens at Columbia Nationals has any impact in terms of what's going to happen at US Nationals. I think Molly was just really, really good last year, and maybe they can find that rhythm again. They certainly could, but Edward doesn't think so. Edward says Brute Squad has better title odds than Fury or Molly. Wow, that is a hot take.
That's scorching. You would expect nothing less from Edward Stevens. Like this man is a take machine.
Dombro says none of the pool 1 seeds make semis in mixed. Wow. Yeah, I can't. It's too hot for me.
Yeah, we both have 3 of the 4. That's pretty hot. Pretty hot.
Henry says Fury doesn't make semis. Woo, that's hot.
Has that ever happened in the history of man? Did they invent semifinals? Did semifinals exist until Fury discovered them? Like, were they the first to land there? Zach says Joe White. If Joe White has a non-all club performance, Machine will do better. The Ewing theory kind of thing here.
I don't know about that. Could Joe White go off? Machine wins a title and he ascends to number 1 men's player in the country. That is not. Everything about that is plausible except Machine winning.
Oh, no. He said they were like the 3rd best team in the division, and no chance. That's tough. What else do you got? Mott says North Carolina wins both men's and women's divisions.
Talk about calling me a homer.
He says admitted homer. So,
all right, we are
Mischief
past our
mixed semis. Yes, I love that mischief hype. Get it going.
We're past our deadline, Keith. We got to get to our meeting. We're going to take off. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you being with us here in this live edition of Deep Look. It's been a lot of fun in the chat. So much more to come. We'll try to get some react shows going on during Nationals as well. So stay tuned for that. And we will talk to you from San Diego in 3 days. Enjoy.